Hi, my loves, and welcome to I'm On Your Side Season 2 with me, your host, Sierra Boudreau. You guys, it's been so long since we chatted because I know that the original plan, and we also have guest. Fitz is right here if you're watching. You can see he has decided to join us for the first episode. Lily is over there napping as she does, but we do have guests in the studio today. But it's been so long since we chatted because I know that the original plan was for there to be, I think, a 3-week break between Season 1 and Season 2 for me to move and get settled in. And then I decided to extend that break because I felt like there was more time that I needed. I felt like there was more that I needed to do. I felt like there was more settling I needed to settle into. There's just more that I needed out of the break. And I'm so glad that I listened to myself and gave myself that extra time because I feel like I'm absolutely ready to be back. I feel like I have so much to say. I know that at the end of Season 1, I was kind of telling you guys that I didn't want this podcast to just be like me on and on saying the same things over and over and you not really getting anything new out of it, me not saying anything new, and then both of us just kind of feeling unsatisfied with the end result of the podcast. I really did not want that. I wanted to make sure that this is a place that I grew, and because I'm growing and bringing new stuff to the table, you guys get to take new stuff from it. That's what we've done my entire journey, my entire content career has been me growing and you guys growing alongside me, and that's just really important to me. I think it's one of my favorite things that we get to do online, and really one of my favorite things we get to do in the podcast. I think we do that together here more than on any other platform. On the podcast, it's more long form. We get to really connect, and I've missed it so much. I don't think that in the break, I realized how much I truly missed it because I was really enjoying the break. Honestly, I had a really great time, taking time away from having 3 different platforms to post on consistently, with TikTok, Instagram, the podcast. I really enjoyed getting to focus on those things, and with my spare time, getting to focus on the relationship I have with myself and the relationship I have with my friends and my partner. And, being in Texas now, surprise, in case you didn't know, I don't know how you could possibly not know at this point, but I live in Dallas now. I lived in Denver previously. If you also somehow didn't know previously that I lived in Denver, moved to Dallas, but I went to college in Dallas. And so a lot of my friends are here. And then a lot of people that I grew up with in Houston ended up moving to Dallas either for college or post-grad or whatever. So it really is. So many people that I love so, so dearly are here. Getting to reconnect with them has been really special to me and really important to me. And I talked about this at some point in Season 1 where I felt like I was getting into this phase with a lot of my relationships where every conversation I was having, everything I was learning, whatever it may be, I was somehow taking it and repackaging it into content, which is not something that I was proud of. I think there is beauty, obviously, and experiencing the world around you and then being able to reframe it in a way that resonates with other people. I love doing that. That is one of the main pillars of my job, obviously. But I think it becomes really dangerous when you start to notice the relationships you have with other people are then automatically turning over in your brain to become content, that you're not really engaging in conversation, engaging in relationship with people simply to be in relationship with them, but you are in relationship with them simply because they give you something, and that something is a new thought, a new idea, a new way of thinking, so that you can then turn it around and give it to other people and then monetize it, obviously. I think it becomes really dangerous when you do that. And I noticed I was doing that. I'm not saying that I was only friends with people because it gave me content, but I do think that there was a large part of my brain that was listening to reframe and not listening to just engage, not listening to just be in a relationship. And I didn't love that. It was really uncomfortable. And when I moved here, I just had this really big feeling of relief, realizing that I wasn't going to have to do that because a lot of my content on TikTok and Instagram has shifted in the way that it obviously is still motivational in some way, and there's still, me bringing my experiences to you guys and helping you see it in your own light. There still is a lot of that, but I think that mostly it is just me being myself without necessarily thinking about how to be inspirational or without thinking about how to give you guys key takeaways, you know what I mean? And if you've been following me for a long time, I think that you have seen me through a lot of different shifts in content and a lot of different content styles, maybe leaning heavily into one thing and then leaning away from that, as time goes on and you learn more about yourself and you learn what you're comfortable putting online, your content changes. And that became especially true for me. And I noticed that there was a big chunk of my personality, big chunks, honestly, of my personality that I wasn't really showing online because I was so comfortable being in this niche, in this inspirational content creator niche. And while that is a part of me, and while I obviously love doing that with you guys, there's also a part of me that is quick-witted. There's a part of me that is snappy. There's a part of me that's funny. There's a part of me that is sassy, whatever it may be. There's so many different parts of me that people in my real life get to see and engage with, but I think, hiding from online because it wasn't my quote niche that I had fallen into. It wasn't the part of myself that I was really comfortable with you guys seeing. And I started to shift more and more into just me being fully myself online and me allowing myself to bring just my full personality to the table and not worrying so much about what's going to perform, not worrying so much about how people are going to perceive it. If even I say something that maybe isn't perfectly in line with this gentle, this peaceful demeanor that I bring in some of my videos, that's okay because I am a multifaceted human being. I am not just one thing. And lo and behold, the more of my personality that I started to show and the more honest and the more of myself I started to bring to the table, the more you guys found me and the more followers I gained and the more community I built. The more I was willing to share and be less reserved with, the more my audience that I was always trying to find ended up finding me. And so that's really exciting. And I really do love that. But the break has been really good. All that to say, the break has been really good. The break is exactly what I needed. I feel like I am entering in this new stage in my life, in this new relationship with myself, in this new relationship with you guys and my relationship to the internet and followers and, all of that. I think it shifted a lot in the way that I have established much better boundaries, and my way of thinking has always been, I don't want to put anything online that I'm not comfortable with people commenting on, because people are going to comment on what you put in front of them. People are already going to comment on what you don't put in front of them. People are going to comment on, the assumptions that they have, but more so, people are going to comment on what you show them, and there are things I'm just not comfortable being commented on because it's my real life, and I'm a real person, and I know that it's so easy to just say, okay, well, ignore it, and yeah, you can totally ignore it, but I also think that when you see stuff that is going against what you know to be true, or seeing assumptions about your life that can be painful or misconstrued or, just downright nasty, when you're seeing that, there's still that process where it enters your brain and you have to combat it. And I realized that I don't like doing that. I don't like opening my comments or scrolling online and having to combat a million different opinions about myself that I know that aren't true. And so I just started limiting what I put out there and what I was willing to, quote, defend myself on, if you could call it that. And there's so much of my life that I'm willing to have opinions on, I found. There's so much of my life that I'm willing to share. But there are things also sacred to me that I'm not willing to share. You guys have always been really awesome about respecting my boundaries. And so it's not that I was in this really negative feedback loop with my audience. It wasn't ever any of that. I just think that I like to be proactive and really like to be mindful about my whole relationship with being online, because it can very, very quickly turn really emotionally damaging. And I want to protect myself. I want to protect my mental health. I want to protect my peace. And you guys usually respect that. In the beginning of season 1 of the podcast, I asked this question of what would it look like if, and that was kind of the theme the entire season 1 of the podcast followed. It was, what would it look like if we believed in ourselves? And what would it look like if we were on our own side? What would it look like if we left relationships not meant for us? What would it look like if we explored possibilities that goodness really is looking for us? What would it look like if we leaned into these ideals, and how would our lives change? And I loved that. I think season 1 was so beautiful in that way, and how much I grew and how much you guys grew and the conversations we got to have and the community we built. I loved the theme of what would it look like if, but in the break, I realized that I'm no longer living in that. I'm no longer asking, what would it look like if? Right now, I'm realizing I know what it looks like. And I know what it looks like because I dared myself to ask that question, and I dared myself to explore those different ideas. And then I ended up exactly where I wanted to be. And so now it's not what would it look like, but now it's what do I do now that I'm here? And And that's the whole premise of season 2. So all of that to say, season 2 is what does it look like now that I'm here? A lot of us are used to saying, I can't wait till I get there. When I get there, then I'll do this. And when I get there, then I'll feel this. That's what we kind of base our movements around. That's what we base our choices around. This pursuit of there, whatever there may be. And I realized that I am there. I'm no longer in the pursuit. I'm no longer, of course, there's things that I want. Of course, there's more growth. There's more development. I have so many more goals, obviously. But this is the point in my life that I've been working towards for years of my life, what I have right now. And I refuse to be so blinded to what I have right now in the constant pursuit of more. I struggled for so long with being satisfied. I didn't know how to just be satisfied. And I learned that the best way for me to be satisfied is just to notice. If I look up and actually notice what I built, if I look up and actually notice the relationships I have, the peace that I have, the joy that I have, the care that I have, if I notice those things, it's really easy to be content in them. But I think that this discontentment comes from the fact that we so rarely notice that we actually have what we told ourselves we were working towards. And we ignore it because we think if I settle right here, that I'm going to miss out on what's to come later. But we've said it a million times here that there is absolutely no way that you're going to miss what's meant for you. And so there is no harm in taking time to actually acknowledge and enjoy you being where you said you wanted to be a couple of years ago. That is worthy of your celebration. That is worthy of your notice. That is worthy of your attention. And the more attention you give it, the more of it you're going to invite into your life. We forget that. We think that if we stop and if we rest, we're going to push our future goals further and further away from us. And it's actually the exact opposite. If you stop and you rest and you enjoy, you are inviting more of that into your life, and you're signaling to the universe, I know how to appreciate what I have. I know how to enjoy what I have. I know how to just be with who I am. And the universe takes it as a signal and says, okay, you're ready for more. You're ready for the next thing. We have to stop rushing and rushing to get there. There doesn't really exist. There is always moving. There is in our brains. It literally exists in our heads. Here is reality. What you have right now is reality. So enjoy the reality you have worked so hard to build. So season 2, we asked the question of what do I do now that I'm here? What do I do now that I've built these incredible relationships? What do I do now that I actually do have a job that I really like? What do I do now that I feel a peace and a comfort within myself and my body? What do I do now that I am not trying to go somewhere else? How do I enjoy it? How do I enjoy it, especially without guilt? How do I rest in the belief that I actually do deserve it? That's what season 2 is about. And that is what I was trying so hard to find in the break. I knew that I was changing into something. I knew something new was going to come out, but I didn't know what it was. And I just knew that I wasn't in the same place by the end of season 1 that I was in the beginning or even the middle of season 1, that I worked so hard to evolve and become, and then I evolved and became, and now I'm here, and it just didn't feel authentic to me to keep going with that same question, with that same theme of the pursuit. I think that now it's the being, the being and the becoming and the resting in the idea that I did it. Like I achieved this goal that I had. And like I said, of course I have more goals and more hopes and more dreams, but my God, can I just take a second to give myself a round of applause? Can you take a second to give yourself a round of applause to actually appreciate yourself and celebrate yourself and enjoy yourself? Can you give yourself a second for that? Because I think you really deserve it. And I know that I really deserve it. And I think this season is going to feel so good for all of us who have achieved so much in the past year. And we just want to exist in it. We just want to rest in it and explore it and go deeper into it. That's what this season's going to be for us. And I am so thankful that I came upon that realization. I'm so thankful that this season is really just going to be so full of enjoying the goodness that we've achieved. I left Denver and I live in Dallas, and what now is kind of what I've been asking myself. It's like I knew that Denver wasn't meant for me anymore. I knew it wasn't right for me anymore, and I knew that I wanted to be back in Dallas. Everything worked out for me to be back in Dallas, and I'm happy here, and I'm so thankful to be here. But what now? It kind of feels like, I shared this on my Instagram story the other day, that the novelty of it has worn off almost. And now it's the reality that I live here. Now this is my life here, and it feels semi-permanent in the way that I bought a house here. And just financially, you never want to like buy a house and turn around and sell it in a year. That's not a smart decision, nor like what I want to do. And so it feels like, okay, I'm here and I'm here for the foreseeable future. And what now? What do I make of it? What do I allow to unfold and become? What am I excited about and like hopeful for is also the question I've been asking. Like, what do I want out of being here? What do I want out of Dallas? What do I want out of my community? What do I want out of myself? And if you feel like that's a lot of questions to be asking myself, it is. Yeah, it is. And I've been working through that with my therapist of like, I moved here and now I have to reconfigure kind of this idea of like what I want. It's not in theory anymore. It's not when I get there, then maybe I want, or when I get there, then I should do. It's like I'm here. And so I can actively do it. I can actively pursue it. It's no longer in theory. It's no longer a win. And now it's just like, okay, how am I going to do it? And I think that when moving to Dallas, there's kind of been these like two conflicting feelings I've had. Maybe conflicting feelings isn't the right word, but let me explain what I mean. It's like I used to live in Dallas. I went to college in Dallas, like I told you guys, and a lot of you guys already know. And so there's like a part of me that has existed here for a long time. I have relationships here. I have places I like to go here. Like I am very comfortable in Dallas, right? But the conflicting feeling I'm having is like, yeah, I'm comfortable in Dallas and I know what I used to like here. I know where I used to go here. I know the things that I used to do here, but I'm an entirely different person living in Dallas now than I was before I moved to Denver. Like I have entirely new ideas of self. I have new expectations of relationships. I have new desires out of friendship. I have new beliefs about the world. Like I really am a completely different person doing a very, very different thing career-wise and just personally. And so it's been kind of this struggle of like, how much of my old self do I want to revisit? And how much of her do I want to introduce to who I am now, just because I'm kind of back in the same place? Or how comfortable am I with having let a lot of that old self go? And I think being here, I'm in a different part of Dallas than I was, because in college I was in Denton and then I moved a little bit outside of Denton to work when I was here last, and then moved to Denver, and now I'm back and I'm in Dallas proper. And so that's kind of a new experience living in the city. But I was telling a friend, I think that like now that I've lived in Denver proper, like in the city, I am much more used to living in the city and I much prefer living in the city. Like when I was thinking about buying houses, I wasn't really ever thinking I wanted to live in a surrounding suburb, because now I'm used to and comfortable being in a city. And so that's just what I prefer, which is a big 180 from who I was when I moved, because last time I lived in Texas, I was a suburban girl down, you guys. I didn't want to be in the city. I think I visited Dallas proper maybe 5 times in the entire time that I lived in North Texas. Like I really was not a Dallas girl. And so that's just a really big change that I've made. And being here, it's like I am reflecting a lot on my time in Denver and how much I grew in that time. And it's like it's bittersweet almost, right? Because I knew Denver wasn't where I was supposed to be anymore. I had this feeling that it was time to go. And I listened to that feeling, and I'm so thankful I did. I'm so thankful that I'm not there anymore. And yet I miss it, right? I miss it in a way I didn't expect to miss it. I miss it in a way that feels kind of foreign to me. I think that I'm getting emotional, but it's like Denver, I don't know so much that I miss Denver itself. I think more so I am reflecting with a lot of gratitude for what Denver afforded me and the person that I got to become because I lived there, because I moved away from Dallas for a little bit. I experienced my youth in a way that I had never experienced it in Texas in a way that I don't think I would have pushed myself to experience had I stayed in Texas. I was so comfortable living in the suburbs. I was so comfortable just being like in a long-term relationship with someone and pursuing marriage really quickly and, settling down, probably having a couple kids by 25. Like, I was really comfortable with that plan for my life. And just like I had the feeling that it was time to leave Denver, I once had a feeling that it was time to go. Denver allowed 25 and 24 to feel like 24 and 25, to actually feel the depths of my youth. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with getting married young or having kids young or any of that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. All I'm saying is I really thought that was my only option. I was very comfortable in the belief that that was my only option. And then I go to a place where that's not the standard. And I realize I don't have to do that. I can choose to if I want to. I can choose to get married young. I can choose to have kids young if I want to, but I don't have to because I don't know anything else. I can. And that's the beauty, the choice. The beauty is the choice. And there's even more beauty in me realizing that is not my choice, actually, that I enjoy my youth and what my youth means so much. I enjoy my freedom. I enjoy my ability to go on a trip with my boyfriend whenever we want to go on a trip. I love the freedom that I have to break my lease at my apartment and buy a house and move because I had a feeling, because my intuition, and because I have very few responsibilities. Because I'm so young. I don't have to take care of kids right now. I don't have to take care of my parents because, their health is failing. Like, I don't have to think about these things and do these things that often come with growing older and growing up. And I also realized in Denver that I very much am still growing up, you guys. Like, I think that living in the suburbs of North Texas, it kind of felt like I was done growing up. It kind of felt like I had done it. Like, I was the fully formed adult version of myself, and that's just who I was going to be. And lo and behold, I was so wrong. But that's also, I think, a symptom of being 22. When you're 22, you think you have gotten the key to adulthood. You think you have figured it out, babe. Like, you know everything. 22 is the year that no one can tell you shit about shit because you have figured it out. You are post-grad. You're an adult in the world. You're making adult money. You have adult friends. You can do adult things. Like, at 22, I mean, at least for me and my friends that I've talked to, like, about being 22, at least for us, it was very much like, I am the adult. Everyone else is a child. No one can tell me anything about anything because I know it all. I figured it all out. And then you turn 23. And you're like, oh, wait. Oh, God, everything that I thought I knew to be true about me and my life and adulthood actually isn't true at all. And then you turn 25. And I'm realizing now at 25, on the verge of 26, my birthday's at the end of this month, I am realizing life is just a never-ending cycle of thinking you know everything and realizing you don't. I think that there are years in your life that you think you know everything, and then years in your life you realize you don't. At 16 years old, I knew everything. At 17 and 18, I didn't know a single thing. At 19, I knew everything completely. 20, no. 20, I was like a haze, right? It was just a very, very big fog. Like, not even in a negative way, just like perpetual brain fog for my 20th year. And at 22, fully believed I knew every single thing in the world. 25, I don't know shit about shit. You know what I mean? And that's just kind of how it's been going. Like, I am realizing that there are some points in my life where I'm going to think I have it all figured out, and then life is going to be life, and you're going to realize, oh my God, that was really cute. That idea that you had about everything, that was really cute. Here's a reality check, right? And so I'm in the midst of my reality check in the best way possible. And what Denver gave me is releasing the fear of that reality check, this ability to be wrong, because my youth affords me the time and the freedom and the capability to just be wrong without fucking a lot of stuff up. Like, I can be wrong about so much stuff right now, and it doesn't really affect a lot of other people besides me. which is so beautiful and so fun and not something I ever realized I really had. What else did Denver give me? I think that's my big thing, just like realizing my youth and the beauty in my youth and grasping it so tightly because it is so fleeting. And I don't know that that's necessarily special to Denver. I think that's pretty special to any city. I think realistically, I probably could have found some part of that in Dallas. I think there's a very big culture difference between Denver and Dallas, but I think I probably could have found some of that in Dallas. But I fully believe I had to leave my environment, like completely 180 my environment in order to find that. I don't think it would have been as simple as me going 45 minutes down the road. I think I needed like a big uproot and replant and then uproot again and replant. And Denver gave me such beautiful insight into friendship and female friendship, young adult friendship, post-grad friendship. I learned so much about like putting myself out there and rejection, like how to be rejected and also how to reject graciously. I learned so much about what it means to be a friend and what it means to be okay disappointing people because your ideas of what you want for your life and their ideas of what they want for their lives or their realities just don't mesh up. I learned what it looks like if like I became the person I always said I was going to be, and then someone else became the person they always said they were going to be, and oh my gosh, we don't like each other. You know, like I learned what that looks like. And oh, shocker, that is actually really hard to like lose one of your close friends because you both became exactly who you always wanted to be. And those two people don't like each other. But I'm so glad I learned that lesson, and I am so glad that I grew through that. Denver is just a very, very different culture. I said once that Denver is very transitional and very transactional. Transitional in the way that a lot of people that you meet as a transplant are going to be transplants. I found that it's actually really rare to meet a Denver native and then become ingrained in their community of natives and then feel like you're part of the native crowd. I don't know anyone who has really done that. Like maybe you have a friend or two who is from Denver, but very rarely did I run into people whose like main friend group was people who were native to Denver and they themselves weren't native to Colorado in any way. You know what I mean? And so a lot of people are moving in and moving out pretty quickly. And when I say quickly, I mean within like 3 to 5 years, they have moved to Denver and left Denver. I left right at 2.5 years, almost 3 years. And so I think that's pretty common. Like people kind of do a pit stop in Denver, which I think is so chic. I think it is so chic to do a little stop in Denver. It is so chic to see what they're talking about over in the mountains and then take yourself back home or take yourself somewhere new should you want to. Denver is the perfect place to figure yourself out. And I really want to highlight that one of my biggest gripes with Denver is that everyone, it seems, is trying to figure themselves out. And so very few people have a very firm grasp on who they are. And when you take what you need to take from Denver, oh, does someone want to mow their grass right now? Don't they know that I'm On Your Side podcast by Sierra Boudreau is filming season 2, episode 1? It's kind of cruel of them to think this was a good time to mow their grass, but I think maybe they should be done soon. And that's the thing about living in a neighborhood. People are going to mow their grass, especially people who, I don't even know if y'all can hear me really clearly or if you can only hear the mower. We're just going to, oh, no, that's really loud. Oh, rev it up, babe. A lot of people who are maybe retired or have very lax schedules will mow their grass at 1 p.m. on a Friday. What better time, right? I can think of a couple better times. I can think of a few. The good Lord did say this too shall pass. Well, actually, I don't know if God said that or one of the apostles. I haven't read the Bible in a hot minute. But I had once. I had in another life. I really was deeply invested in that scripture. Okay, I think they're done. They're done. We're back. Okay, if y'all can't hear, when I'm editing that, if y'all can't hear any of what I just said, then you won't even know that somebody was mowing their lawn very loudly. But if that's in there, then you know, you're part of it. What was I talking about? Oh, yes. And so back to the program. Denver is a great place to figure yourself out. However, once you do figure yourself out, which is the goal, right? Like once you get a firm grasp on who you are and what you want to do with who you've become, it's kind of, I think, a harder place to stay because a lot of your community is there because it's a beautiful place to transition. A lot of the community you find as a transplant is people who move there for that same reason, for that exact reason, right? And so once you kind of have taken what you've needed to take from that, it's hard to just stay, I think. They're back. I wonder now if that's somebody mowing or if that's the construction going on in the front of my house. They have been doing construction on my street starting at 7 a.m., which is fine. I am up at 6. Humble brag. I am up at 6. However, 7 a.m. I think is pretty early. I think we should be respectful. It started at a nice 9 a.m., but that's just me. I don't think the city of Dallas is listening to the podcast though. So there's such a high turnover in places like Denver. I'm sure in places like LA and places like, I don't know, other cities where people kind of move to like become something, to find themselves. I think there's a high turnover in places like that. And then I also said Denver is very transactional. I find that because everyone is trying to become, everyone is trying to grow into who they want to be, everyone is trying to figure themselves out. It's kind of like every relationship you find has a purpose. A lot of the relationships feel very transactional. I think it's, I bring something to the table, you bring something to the table, we take what we want to take from each other, and then either we decide to stick around or we kind of move on to something else. Like I went through quite a few friends in Denver when I was trying to figure myself out, while other people are trying to figure themselves out, right? Because I'm not the only one who's like on this journey of my early to mid 20s self-discovery. I think we're all on it, but I think that Denver is a place where like we all just kind of like migrate and then become in the same place, which is interesting because Denver is also a very chill city. Like it's not very, you have to grind, you have to work hard. Like it's not like that. Denver is very lax, very chill. There's not really this pressure to career-wise, like overperform, to overachieve. I think people in Denver really love hobbies. People in Denver really love being outside. People really love just like hanging out. Literally, Denver is the place to hang out. That is my full belief. Denver is a place to hang out. And so it's not like you're working super hard at like, I'm going to become something. I'm going to become someone. It's just that you're figuring yourself out because Denver is, at least for a lot of my friends who were transplants, Denver is very much unlike where we moved from, which is a great place to explore who you want to be. And that's really what I have to say about that. And leaving Denver, it was a really easy choice, honestly. Like it felt really easy, but there are things that I miss so much. I miss being able to go to Wash Park and do 2 laps and then go, do a local restaurant and like grab a marg when I was drinking, or just like sit and chat with like one of my friends after the walk. I loved that. That was really one of my favorite pastimes. Just going to sit at a park, just in and of itself, was a great pastime. I miss my spin studio so much. I miss my Pilates studio so much. I miss these things so much, but those things were not enough to make me stay. And I think that's okay. And through my move away from Denver, I am figuring out how much I'm willing to let go of in order to gain what feels right to me, what feels better to me. And I learned that the answer is actually a lot. I am willing to let go of a lot if it means I feel like I'm making the best decision for myself, and if it means I'm in a place where I feel peace and connection and comfort within myself. And I think that the move has been hard in some ways and easy in some ways. I don't think leaving in and of itself was hard at all, but I do think that being away from where I built a life in a community and where I grew so much has felt a little bit tough in this past week, 2 weeks. I am really realizing like I really don't live there anymore. I can't just go down the street and go to Hallie's, I can't just go to my favorite Pilates studio and take a class, like my 8:30 class, my beloved 8:30 a.m. class. Like I can't just do those things anymore because I don't live there anymore. That I'm going to have to find new normals. I'm going to have to find new favorite spots, new people to just like do that with, to do things with. Yeah, I have my friends here, I have my community here. And also there's so much room to make new friends and build new community here, that just because I'm in a place that I have people that I like grew up with or went to college with or whatever doesn't mean that I'm closed off to new relationships and new friendships. I'm so excited about that. One of my favorite quotes ever is, "You have not met all the people who are going to love you yet." And I am really excited to find out who I'm going to love and who's going to love me back as this new person that I am. And as I go into 26, I am just really hopeful. I am so hopeful. I am hopeful that it is all going to work out in the way that I wanted it to work out. I am hopeful that the things that I believe to be true about this move are going to be true. I am hopeful that I am going to gain more than I could even imagine. And I am hopeful that I am going to be comfortable letting go, which is no longer meant for me. I think 26 is going to be a really big year of hope. And I don't think hope is ever wasted. I think even if it doesn't end up exactly as I hoped it would, that the hope allowed me to be open, and the hope allowed me to explore and to question and to challenge and to enjoy. The hope allowed me to fall into what I'm supposed to fall into. And so I'm sticking with that. I think 26 is the year of hope. I'm going to do a whole episode on 26 and kind of like expectations I have, hopes I have, dreams I have, goals I have. We're going to dive all into 26 because 26 feels serious, you guys. 26 feels like a big year. It feels like a grown-up year. I was talking to my manager, Bella, about this, and I feel like it's going to be a really big year, like career-wise and personally and relationally. Like I feel like this is going to be a really big year. And it also feels like a grown-up year. I'm not even there yet, but 26 feels like a grown-up year. Like we were talking about earlier, 26 feels like a year where I know everything. Sorry, 25, where you didn't know anything, but 26 is coming in, and actually I do know everything, and I'm a fully realized adult, and I don't need anyone's opinions because my opinions are the only ones that matter because they're right and perfect and everything that I think is true because I am the most adult 26-year-old there's ever been. And I say that right now. And the way that life has such a way of laughing in your face, you guys, I might look back at this 6 months from now and be like, girl, if only you knew what was in store. If only you knew. And I don't know. I'm just hypothesizing, making an educated guess. And just the way that life has gone recently, I think I'm due for a year of knowing everything. I don't know. We're going to see how it all shakes out. But I do think I'm due for a year of knowing everything. I've been yapping for longer than I thought I was going to yap in this first episode. But you guys, we had so much to catch up on. We had so much to talk about. And there's so much that I just wanted to bring up with you guys. And I really wanted to explain the reason for the gap between season 1 and season 2. The reason for the extended gap between those 2 seasons. You guys were DMing me like, hey, don't forget about us. And I thought about you guys every single day of every single week. I did not stop thinking about this podcast, but also I really enjoyed allowing myself to just fall into it, to come back to it when I felt ready. And here I am feeling so ready. And here I am like being in Dallas, being this new person, so different than I was when I left, and knowing so fully that I made the right decision, knowing that I made the right decision to leave and I made the right decision to come back, knowing that I did exactly what I was meant to do when I moved to Denver. I achieved exactly what I was meant to achieve. I grew exactly in the direction I wanted to grow into. And now I'm back. And now I get to just enjoy it. And now I get to see what's here for me and reminding myself that no decision I make has to be permanent. No decision I make has to be permanent. I can always change my mind. And enjoying the fact that if I change my mind right now, I have significantly less consequences than if I change my mind in 10 years and if I change my mind in 20 years, that later on down the line, me changing my mind and me kind of opening myself up to the possibilities and just like completely trusting my intuition will come with different consequences. And right now I'm enjoying my pretty relatively low consequence life. But I bought a house, and so naturally we're going to have to talk about the fact that I bought a house. We're going to talk all about home ownership. We're going to talk about the process of me going through all of it, like, finding the lender, finding my realtor, looking at homes, putting an offer in, getting that offer accepted, and getting an awful inspection. We're going to talk all about my journey into home ownership, how I'm feeling so far. I closed on the house a month ago yesterday, so I've been in the house for a full month now, which feels really crazy, and it does feel like a home. And I was like standing in the kitchen the other day doing the dishes, and I looked around and I was like, oh my God, all the lives I'm going to live in this house, right? Like there's a possibility I'm going to raise kids in this house. There's a possibility I'm going to be married in this house. There's so many lives that I could live in this house, right? And that is so exciting to me. I think that the joy of owning something is like, you can stay if you want to stay. You can always move. Like I could always sell it. We could always move, whatever. But I could also stay. I could stay and live 10 different lives in this house, and it will be so full of memories and love, and I have always wanted that. I have always wanted that so bad, to just have a house that is so filled to the brim with love and with community and with celebration and with connection. I really wanted that in my childhood, and I didn't get to have it. And now I get to create it for myself. I'm having my housewarming party / birthday party in a couple of weeks. So I'm having like so many of my friends over, and we're going to drink, we're going to eat. And when I say drink, I mean I'm providing an open bar for them. For them, not for me. I won't be drinking 4 months sober, which we'll also talk about, because sober summer has transitioned into like sober life, maybe. I don't know, you guys. I'm still 25. I don't know anything at 25, but at 26, I am going to know everything. So I'll come back with more firm answers at 26. However, anything I say at 26, even if I swear up and down that I know for sure that that's the truth, take it with a grain of salt, because I'm only 26, you guys. I'm so young. I'm such a youthful little baby. You have to understand. And so I'm really excited about this season. I am really excited about I'm on your side. I am really excited about how much we have grown together and how much we've grown up together. I had someone comment the other day, and they're like, I've been following you since you were like dating back in Texas. And I was like, oh my God, who was that girl? Who was that sweet, precious little 22-year-old girl running around the city in skirts too short, terrorizing men? I mean, I'm like still doing that in different ways. My skirts are still too short, and I'm still kind of terrorizing men, but just in different ways. You know what I mean? And thank you guys for sticking with me through the break. And thank you guys for being back. I am so excited to be back. This season has so much good stuff in store, and I can't wait to give it all to you. So to wrap this episode up, enjoy the last few weeks of me not really knowing anything at 25, because come 26, it's going to be a whole new me. But I can't wait to get into the season. I love you so much. I'm so thankful that you'll be back here. Get ready. And that is all I have for you. Okay, we will talk next Sunday. Oh my God, that feels so crazy to say, because we're back, baby. Okay, talk next Sunday. I love you so much, and I am on your side. Mwah.